And the crime rates are plummeting in Washington, D.C.
I understand that.
D.C. is thanking the president.
But just to be clear, the National Guard is not doing any of that. The National Guard is not doing any of that.
Crime has gone down. People are being arrested. Illegal guns are coming off the streets. And there is apparently some cooperation between a Democrat and a Republican administration, which you're not getting a scintilla of out of Illinois, which I think is a political mistake.
I do see it different.
That's Scott Jennings exposing Abby Phillip's BS with simple, hard truths. Crime in Washington, D.C. has collapsed since Trump sent in the National Guard, and Democrats and their puppets at CNN are desperate to pretend it's meaningless. The only problem is the numbers tell a different story. Welcome to Nerk News, I'm Nerkish, and it looks like the hacks in establishment media have developed yet another allergy to reality, because every time Trump succeeds, they scramble to frame it as a disaster. You know, they mocked him for sending in the Guard, but crime has been in rapid decline. I mean, even Mayor Bowser extended the deployment because despite what people like Phillip argue, it is working. Here's Scott Jennings and Ben Shapiro shutting Abby Phillip down with facts she simply can't spin.
Isn't serious about solving crime here. This is all about theater. This is all about shock and awe. That's what he specializes in.
That's why the National Guard in D.C., they've got them on beautification duty now. Guardsmen have reportedly cleaned more than 2.3 miles of roadway, collected more than 500 bags of trash, and disposed of 3 truckloads of plant waste. I think that is all great stuff. But the National Guard, at the tune of $1 million a day, because these folks have to be paid, are doing what the Park Service could have done if they had just been given their adequate funding.
And the crime rates are plummeting in Washington, D.C.
The people doing that are other law enforcement agencies like ICE and Border Patrol.
I'll tell you one thing they're doing.
And
I walked
ATF
around,
and others.
I'll tell you one thing they're doing. I walked around Washington, D.C. all weekend long with my family. I had my entire family there. And we did run into the National Guard. And I'm just going to tell you, having these guys walking around, keeping an eye on things, they were greeting the public. I saw a lot of people walking up to them, thanking them for keeping an eye on Washington, D.C. I think there's something to be said for just having more eyes and ears on the streets. People are less likely to commit crimes in front of 4 or 5 National Guardsmen.
Their visibility is a deterrent, but what happens once you pull them back, right? That doesn't really solve the root of the problem.
Well, it's a good question. And today, Mayor Bowser actually signed an executive order inviting an ongoing federal presence in Washington, D.C., and didn't put an end date on it. I mean, just as Ben said, she has acknowledged that this has worked.
You know, it's almost surprising Phillip didn't jump in to cut Jennings off right there. I mean, a study showed she interrupts conservatives 42 times more than liberals on her own panel, which tells you everything you need to know about her opinions. I mean, for crying out loud, she can't even keep her own spin straight on this. One minute it's Trump's a joke and the National Guard is doing nothing. The next night, it's Trump's an authoritarian monster, and the Guard are some kind of evil military force intimidating citizens. Jennings and Shapiro cut right through the noise. If the Guard weren't making an impact, Bowser wouldn't have extended their deployment, which is why CNN is trying out its newest and most ridiculous argument coming from Jake Tapper.
And Terry, some Democrats, such as Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker, have suggested this isn't about fighting crime itself. Take a listen to what he told CBS Face the Nation.
He'd like to stop the elections in 2026 or, frankly, take control of those elections. He'll just claim that there's some problem with an election, and then he's got troops on the ground that can take control if, in fact, he's allowed to do this.
And the governor of California, Gavin Newsom, has said similar things. You just spoke to the Attorney General of California. What does he think?
Well, he's filing a lawsuit to stop the extension of the original 300 National Guard troop presence in Los Angeles past Election Day because he's suspicious. Because there's a shadow in all of this. Whether it's for the screens, it is also to prime the American people to see military forces on the streets of our cities when there is no justification. There's no disaster. There's no riot burning down square miles of any city. There was one car on fire in Los Angeles. And that's clearly what this is. Trump wanted to send the military. He talked about it in 2020. In December of 2020, he said we could have the military hold elections in the swing states. He's talked about it here. He says, I'm the president. They get to do what I want. And they're already talking about the emergency around the voting machines.
It's interesting that this comes as all these National Guard troops are being deployed to major cities, having nothing to do with war, theoretically.
Right. No, we have an active military now, and they're landing in American cities.
You know, this is honestly starting to get pathetic. Forget the crime numbers. Forget the mayor extending the guard. Establishment media hacks like Tapper want people to believe Trump is staging some dystopian power grab because they simply can't admit the crackdown worked. So they move the goalposts. That isn't analysis, it's desperation. Americans support this because they want safe streets. Over half the country backs using the guard in high crime cities. People see it works in Washington, and they want the same in Chicago and New Orleans. CNN isn't warning about tyranny. They're trying to protect a failed narrative. But let me know what you think. What will CNN's narrative be if Trump has similar success in other crime-ridden Democrat cities? Let me know in the comments, and if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel. That stuff really does help us out. Until then, this has been Nerk News. Thanks for watching. Bye.